My family treats me like a doormat. Now they are planning a cruise without me and assuming I'd stay behind to babysit their kids. They expected me to watch the kids while they had a good time. Even though I, 25F, was not invited to the family cruise. Reddit, hello? Usually, I just read posts and marvel at how families can be so cruel to one another. As it happens, I just received a story from my own family that is worth sharing. I need some perspective since, for the past week, this has been weighing heavily on my chest. I'd like to introduce myself. I'm a 25-year-old single software developer for a big tech business in Seattle, and it seems like I've been made the family doormat. I got what most people would call a dream job 3 years ago after graduating from college. I've been advancing my career consistently. My work is rewarding and difficult, and my team respects me. However, in my family, I'm simply the one who can be counted on, the person who others turn to when they need assistance, particularly with childcare. Please understand that I adore my nieces and nephews. I've always been available for last-minute babysitting crises or any time someone needs a helping hand. Perhaps I erred by being overly approachable and eager to assist. The backstory is as follows. After 40 years of teaching, my 65-year-old Aunt Jean is retiring. She is essentially the matriarch of our family, keeping everyone in touch. She keeps track of all the birthdays, plans every holiday meal, and even sends care packages to the younger cousins when they attend college. She is what keeps us all together. She was the one who gave me care packages filled with my favorite snacks and handwritten encouraging letters during finals week when I was in college. She even assisted me in getting ready for my very first job interview. Her retirement is obviously a huge event, and I was thrilled to join in the celebration, or was until I learned that I would not be participating. Everything began last week. I had just completed a particularly difficult project at work that involved coordinating a crucial system update and staying late to fulfill deadlines. Despite my fatigue, I continued to have dinner with my family once a week. Since I moved into my own apartment, these dinners have become a ritual, and even when I'm really busy with work, I hardly ever miss one. I brought Mom's favorite bottle of wine when I got to my folks' place. It was an ordinary evening, my sister Rachel, 32F, looking through her phone, my dad half watching a sporting event on TV, and my mom, 55F, worrying about what to make. Her 2-year-old was on the floor playing with blocks, and would sometimes call out to everyone who passed. We were discussing a variety of topics, including Rachel's toddler's most recent developmental milestone, my most recent professional endeavor, and the customary family rumors. I then asked jokingly if anyone had any suggestions for Aunt Jean's retirement present. I had been considering getting her a unique present, perhaps organizing a collective present with the family. At that moment, Rachel said, "Oh, we're giving her a group gift on the cruise," without even raising her head from her phone. I stopped in the middle of my sentence. What kind of cruise? At first, I believed I had misheard her. I would be aware of any scheduled family vacation, wouldn't I? I mean, I attend every birthday party, holiday celebration, and family get-together. I chuckled uneasily and inquired about her topic. She raised her head, obviously perplexed that I was perplexed. "We've been organizing the cruise for months, you know," she said, as if I were somehow to blame for not knowing about something that no one had thought to tell me. Rachel added, "All the adults in the family are going." I asked my mother for an explanation. When she realizes she's done something wrong but doesn't want to acknowledge it, she gives me this uneasy smile. She clarified, "It's a cruise to celebrate your aunt's retirement." With a few days spent in Hawaii, I had the impression that I was in a strange prank show. At the time, I was in the dark about this elaborate excursion while everyone else was aware of it. Suddenly, the space felt too warm and cramped. My heart was pounding as I struggled to comprehend what was going on. My mother gave me a tense little laugh when I inquired why I hadn't been informed. And then she said, "Well, we thought you'd be more help staying back. Remaining behind? What can you help with?" I asked, attempting to speak steadily. I had the ideal opportunity to jump in. As if it were the most apparent thing in the world, when my cousin Madison, 30F, entered the room with her twins. The children. It just made sense for you to stay and watch them since you get along so well with them. Let me explain. Madison and Rachel have 4 children under the age of 4, Madison's twins, who are just over a year old, and Rachel's 3 and 2-year-old children. They had somehow determined that I would be more than happy to stay behind and monitor them all without even consulting me. I forgot about my dinner and just stared at them in shock. So you organized this entire trip without inviting me and just thought I'd be fine staying home to watch the kids? Rachel finally put her phone down and shrugged. Yes, indeed. You don't have children or anything that might bind you, and you're always so dependable. It simply made sense. Made sense to whom? I looked at my mother as I inquired, hoping for an explanation that wouldn't make me seem like a total afterthought. We didn't mean to leave you out, honey, she added, smiling weakly at me. We simply assumed you would comprehend. You have always been the one in charge. The word, responsible, was like a kick to the face. I've heard that a lot throughout my life, including when I stayed home to assist with family gatherings rather than going out with friends, when I rearranged my college schedule to accommodate Rachel's firstborn, and when I utilized my vacation time to support Madison following her ailing twin pregnancy. When someone needs assistance, I've always been the one to step up. Yes, I have assisted with school pickups, kept the kids during crises, and even filled in for Rachel when she had work-related issues. Rachel had a late meeting last month, so I took a half-day off work to pick up her children from daycare. After the twins began to crawl, I spent 3 weekends the previous month assisting Madison with organizing her home. However, this was really different. They made decisions for me as if my time, my desires, and my life didn't matter. They didn't even have the grace to ask. My mother attempted to patch things up by promising to bring me a memento, as if that would somehow make up for my exclusion. She promised, "I'll purchase you a lovely souvenir from Hawaii," as though it would make up for being treated like the family's unpaid babysitter. Meanwhile, Rachel pretended that I was exaggerating. You wouldn't really like the cruise anyhow. I take it that you don't like big crowds? Do you recall how uneasy you felt at Cousin Katie's wedding? Pardon me? As I spoke, I could feel my annoyance building. They were now determining what I would and wouldn't like. I was recuperating from the flu when that wedding took place 5 years ago. However, it seems that one incident had turned into a justification for them to keep me out of family gatherings. I sat there, attempting to take it all in. This was intentional, not merely an oversight. They all knew that I don't use Facebook, so I wasn't a part of the private Facebook group where they had been organizing this for months. They could have called, texted, or even casually brought it up at any of the numerous family get-togethers we've had, but they chose not to. My mother attempted to sidestep my comments about how painful it was to be left out. We had no intention of upsetting you. It was simply useful, sensible for them. Soon after, I departed because I was too upset to continue the conversation. It was a blur on the way home. Recollections of all the times I had sacrificed everything for them, put their needs ahead of my own, and dropped everything to aid them kept coming back to me, making it difficult for me to concentrate on the road. However, as the days went by, the rage evolved into something more profound. It was more than just a journey. It has to do with how my family perceives me. I don't have any wants, goals, or desires of my own. Simply said, I'm the reliable one, the helper, and the person they can rely on to make sacrifices when it suits them. I've mentally rehearsed the exchange numerous times. I recalled spending the entire night with Rachel during the colic episode of her first child, how I assisted Madison in her quest for strollers and car seats that are suitable for twins. How I've never missed a child's birthday celebration or school function. As I gave it more attention, I came to the conclusion that this wasn't an isolated incident. They have always treated me in this manner. I didn't even realize how frequently my family took advantage of me because I was so ready to support and assist them. But I'm done this time. I'm not sure how I'll deal with this in the future, but I'm definitely not going to stay behind to watch the kids. Not now. Reddit, what are your thoughts? Have you ever found yourself in a comparable circumstance? I'll keep you informed as events develop. First update. In the last few days, a lot has transpired, and I must disclose how things have gotten out of hand. I made the decision to make one final attempt to get on the trip after reading your remarks, in the hopes that we could arrange something. I texted my sister Rachel to inquire about going on the trip. Sorry, the cruise is sold out, was her irate reply. We made our reservation months ago, and adding individuals now is not possible. I informed her that I would be prepared to reserve my own cabin independently, even if it meant traveling to Hawaii on my own to meet them there or staying on a different deck. Even though I was still upset over being left out, I was making a sincere effort to be understanding. What did she say? Well, you would have to arrange childcare first if you did come. Everything has already been planned, presuming you will monitor the children. It dawned on me then that they never intended to include me. The explanation about daycare was simply that, an excuse. They had already determined that I would always be the babysitter in this household. I therefore made a choice. I had previously asked for time off for what they believed to be babysitting responsibilities. I chose to take the time off for myself rather than cancel it. A coworker recommended this lovely mountain cabin rental, which I found. It's quiet, remote, has hiking trails, and a hot tub with a view of a valley. I made the reservation right away, packed my things, and departed without informing anyone of my destination. Everything I needed was in the cabin, just the sound of nature and complete solitude. No Wi-Fi. No cell service, until in an emergency, naturally. My phone was overflowing with texts the morning of their cruise departure before I finally shut it off. Mom, in an hour, we're heading out. When are we able to drop off the children? Rachel, hey, we're taking the car seats to your apartment. Be prepared. Madison, are you ignoring us? We have to stick to our timetable. Therefore, this isn't humorous. Mom, please answer your phone, honey, she said once again. Everyone is waiting. Then the messages became more obscene. Rachel, it's unbelievable how self-centered you are. Our flight is going to be delayed. Madison, this is utterly careless. We had faith in you. Mom, I raised you better than this. The finest aspect? I had never really received confirmation from them that I would be watching the children. They simply believed that since I've always done it, I would. I'm currently sitting in this serene cottage and taking in the mountain sunset. I feel free for the first time in years. No obligations, no expectations, no last-minute crises to deal with. However, I am aware that this calm is fleeting. I haven't turned on my phone yet, and I can only picture the drama that will be there when I do. I feel bad for finally standing up for myself and upsetting the family dynamic, not for the children, whose care is ultimately the parent's duty. One commenter on my previous piece wrote, "They're not angry because you said no. And it's still on my mind." That struck close to home. They're upset because they can no longer control you. Am I mistaken for prioritizing myself at last? At the very least, should I have informed them that I wouldn't be available? It felt like the only way to let them know I'm serious after years of being taken for granted. Even though I realize it wasn't the most mature thing to do, for the next week, I'll be at the cabin. I suppose I'll have to deal with whatever happens after that. Reddit. I appreciate you letting me vent. After I return and have addressed the fallout, I will provide another update. underscore 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 underscore. Second update. Hello, Reddit. It took me a while to take in everything that had transpired since my last update. I'm in dire need of some outside insight because things have become worse. Do you recall that quiet cabin I told you about? Those 7 days changed my life. I read books I had been intending to read for years, hiked misty trails in the mornings, and soaked in the hot tub under the stars at night. I felt what it was like to not be at someone's mercy for the first time in my adult life. I found myself thinking back on my relationship with my family while I was there. Rachel needed assistance moving houses last December, so I had to postpone a big certification exam that would have furthered my profession that weekend. She said no one else could help her. My siblings gave me plain gift cards, saying they were too busy to shop properly, while I used my entire Christmas bonus the month before to buy presents for all the kids. Madison argued that she had no one else to care for the twins, so I was unable to attend my closest friend's bachelorette party earlier last year. The pattern remained constant. Their demands came first, then mine. But when I got home, the real drama began. Do you recall how I shut down my phone? I had hundreds of voicemails, more than 100 text messages, and 47 missed calls waiting for me. It included everything from threats to guilt-tripping. Do you realize we could have called the police for child abandonment? Was the most memorable message from my cousin Madison. They were meant to be my responsibility. What I was reading was unbelievable. You never agreed to watch children, so how can you leave them? I wanted to handle this ridiculous threat, so I contacted her back right away. When she answered, I exclaimed, "You can't be serious! If someone refuses to accept a responsibility, you cannot report them for it." She gave a frightening reaction. "You were the reason we had to postpone our entire trip. Are you aware of the amount of money we lost? You were meant to be by whom?" I retorted. "I was never asked. You all made the decision for me." She continued talking about my responsibilities to my family and how I had failed them. She then revealed yet another shocking revelation. "I've already spoken with my legal pal. What you did can be regarded as careless." I lost it at that point. "Your lawyer buddy needs to advise you that before accusing someone of ignoring a duty, you must obtain their real consent. I have no formal authority to make medical choices for your children, and my apartment isn't even child-proofed. Have you considered that?" She ended the call then. Rachel's flurry of messages arrived. It seems that she was so stressed that she was only able to enjoy half of the cruise and had to leave her children with a neighbor. She wrote, "You've ruined Aunt Jean's retirement celebration completely. You chose to be selfish, which affected everyone's trip. All of this came at an especially difficult time because just last month, none of my family members were available to drive me home from a minor medical procedure. Madison was preoccupied with her daily schedule, and Rachel had an important hair appointment. In the end, I had to pay for a ride-sharing service. Although more subdued, my mother's strategy was just as deceptive. Presumably assuming I couldn't avoid her at work, she called me. Her voice was brimming with disappointment as she started. Your sister had to cut her trip short. Madison's non-refundable reservations cost them hundreds of dollars. Do you truly want to be this person? I inhaled deeply before answering. Mom, is this more about what you all want me to be, or about what I want to be? What is the intended meaning of that? She inquired. It indicates that I'm sick of being used as the family's unpaid babysitter. None of you even take into consideration the fact that I have my own life, work, and aspirations. She emphasized, we are family. Families support one another. Mom, help is something that is freely given. You're referring to obligation here. In addition, when was the last time I received assistance from any member of this family? The ensuing stillness was telling. The intriguing part, though, is that my sister chose to make this public on Facebook. She has been making ambiguous and hostile status updates about toxic family members and others who don't respect family values. The irony is that our extended family members are making comments like, "Some people forget where they came from," and "Blood is thicker than water." I was initially turned away from the family cruise by these same individuals. My cousin even went so far as to email me a detailed list of all the fees they incurred due to my selfish behavior, including additional daycare charges, travel changes, and cruise tickets. She is requesting that I pay them back because, presumably, their careless planning has made me financially liable. A friend of mine, who is a legal professional, not simply a buddy who knows a lawyer, burst out laughing when I showed her these messages. She asserted, "They cannot force you to pay for plans you never accepted." None of this operates that way. I've learned a valuable lesson from the entire situation. This goes beyond childcare or a vacation. It involves years of abusing my kindness and using my time and effort as a resource to which they feel legally entitled. I've always had some emergency that needed my attention whenever I've attempted to plan for myself. Rachel had joined a book club, so last spring, when I wanted to take a photography class, I ended up spending those evenings watching the kids. This summer, Madison needed assistance with the twins when her husband was gone on business. So I had to postpone our planned weekend getaway with friends. To help me deal with all of this, I've started going to a therapist. She noted that my family's response, the threats, the humiliation in front of others, and the financial demands, are all indications that someone they're used to controlling is losing control. Aunt Jean has been the sole bright point in all of this. I was moved to tears by her remarks when she called me yesterday. "I had no idea they excluded you like this. I would have stopped it right away if I had known. Family isn't meant to be like this." However, even her encouragement cannot make up for the hurt I feel when I realize how my family truly views me. I'm their safety net, their backup plan, and their free babysitting service, not their sister, daughter, or cousin. Going forward, I know I must establish clear boundaries. But I'm having trouble figuring out what those boundaries should entail. There's a part of me that wants to stop communicating altogether, at least temporarily. Even thinking about that makes another part of me feel bad. Reddit, what are your thoughts? With family members that don't even grasp the idea of boundaries, how can you set them? Have any of you had a similar situation? Third update. This will be my last update on the situation, Reddit. In light of the trip and the turmoil that followed, I've had to make some tough but essential choices regarding my relationship with my family going forward. These last few weeks have been life-changing. Now that I'm not always on call for family problems, my professional life has dramatically transformed. I am now in charge of a significant project. Last week, my manager even took me aside and remarked, "You seem like a completely different person. Your energy and focus have significantly increased." Until they were gone, I was unaware of how much my family responsibilities were impeding my career. I finally had the chat I had been dreading last night. I gave my mother a call. Since I still adore her in spite of everything, I knew she would be the most difficult to deal with. However, love is insufficient to excuse their treatment of me. Her voice was instantly eager as she responded, "I'm so happy you phoned, honey. Let's move on from this, shall we? I want to stop fighting now," I said in a firm voice. "Mom, this isn't a fight. This is my way of telling you that I need a lot of space." "What is meant by that?" Her voice changed from one of hope to one of worry. "It implies that I can't continue in this manner. I can't be a part of a family that doesn't respect me, even though I love you. Whenever I attempt to defend myself, I encounter manipulation, accusations, and guilt-tripping. A few weeks ago, I would have been devastated when she began to cry. "So, what are you, simply going to leave me?" Leave your sister? Leave everybody? Yes. If that's what it takes to keep my peace. From there, the discussion took a turn for the worse. She employed all of her strategies, including money manipulation. Remember who helped with your first apartment deposit? Guilt about the children. They ask about their aunt every day. And even bringing up Dad's health. This stress isn't good for his heart. The most painful part was when she mentioned my early years. She said, I gave up everything for you, to raise you. I put my career on hold. I didn't miss the irony of her exploiting her own decisions to blame me for mine. But I held my ground for the first time. I clarified that although I would continue to send birthday cards to the children, I would require total separation from the family's adults for the foreseeable future. What is the foreseeable future duration? She insisted. For however long it takes for me to recover and for everyone to realize that I'm more than just the family's babysitter. She ended the call. Instead of feeling sad, as I had anticipated, I felt lighter. I adopted a more straightforward strategy with my sister and cousin. I disabled their social media profiles and phone numbers. I went through all of the family group conversations on my phone and unsubscribed. In addition to unfollowing them on social media, I modified my email filters so that their messages are sent to a different folder that I may review whenever I'm ready. There has been a noticeable shift in my day-to-day existence. I used to be so worried about missing an emergency call from my sister or cousin that I would continuously check my phone. My phone isn't tied to incessant demands from my family anymore, it's just a phone. I've begun taking back my weekends. I joined a local hiking club last Saturday to tackle a strenuous trail that I've always wanted to experience. I spent 6 hours going to a stunning top with like-minded individuals rather than watching my nieces and nephews. Next weekend, we intend to go hiking again. The class I mentioned on photography? Everything is going remarkably well. I have a natural eye for composition, according to my instructor. And I'm already organizing a picture show with several of my classmates for the spring of next year. When I was at everyone's mercy, I would never have had the chance to take advantage of these kinds of opportunities. Additionally, I've resumed dating, which was previously nearly impossible. It's incredible how much more appealing you seem to possible partners when you don't have to keep postponing arrangements to deal with family crises. Aunt Jean is the only person I continue to communicate with. She confirmed everything I'd been feeling when she contacted me this morning. She added that she had experienced a similar situation with her own sister years prior, which helped me feel less alone in this choice. Walking away from people who don't value you, even if they are family, is sometimes the strongest thing you can do. I've learned from my therapist that this is about taking back my identity, not just about establishing boundaries. I've spent so much time being the family helper, the responsible one, the dependable one. Now I'm free to discover who I am without those titles. Yes, there are times when I miss them. Like when I walk past my niece's favorite park, or see something that would make them laugh. The cruise situation, however, comes to mind, as they were prepared to deny me a family celebration while still requiring me to give up my time for their convenience. Before, I never felt comfortable starting a 5-year plan for myself. I'm considering working part-time while pursuing my master's degree. My manager is very supportive of the tuition reimbursement program offered by my company. In addition, I'm saving for that springtime vacation to Europe by myself, which would not have been feasible when I was continuously devoting my time and resources to family responsibility. My mental health has changed in the most unexpected way. I no longer experience the same level of continual anxiousness. I eat healthier, sleep better, and have even begun working out on a regular basis. You have an incredible amount of energy when you're not always running other people's lives. In response to inquiries in my previous post, I can confirm that I am still employed and have accepted a team lead position on a new project. My coworkers have seen how I've changed. You smile more now, one of them remarked. I was unaware of how obvious my tension had been to other people. Cutting off my family in this way may seem harsh to some of you. Perhaps I am. However, this seems to be the only option. After years of being neglected, having my needs and wants disregarded, and being treated more like a service than a human being, I have no idea what the future will bring. They might realize why I had to do this at some point. They might not. However, I'm prioritizing myself for the first time in my adult life, and it feels good. I appreciate all of your help along the way, Reddit. Your feedback and personal stories gave me the courage to make this choice. I'm ready to conclude this chapter and concentrate on creating my own novel. So, this will be my final update. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you. I was always overshadowed by my stepmother and stepfather's favoritism toward my stepsister, despite my hard work and achievements. Since I was 15, I have had to deal with my stepparents' blatant partiality toward my stepsister. My mom remarried Robert, 45M, who owns his own accounting firm, and that's when it all began. Linda, 42F, his wife, is a real estate agent and is always immaculately dressed in fashionable outfits with flawlessly manicured nails. Ashley, 19F, their daughter, is the same age as myself. Almost immediately after we moved in together, the first indications of preferential treatment surfaced. Although there was plenty of room in our suburban Connecticut home for everyone, it soon became obvious that Ashley was the queen. My stepparents made sure Ashley stood out in every manner, even though other parents treat their kids the same way. Everything that came after was shaped by the day of the move. I was assigned the smaller room that faced the brick wall of the neighbor's house, and Ashley was given the larger bedroom with the bay window and window seat. Shopping excursions turned into a distressing reminder of my role within the family. Ashley would shop at high-end stores for designer clothing and new Nike sneakers, while I was told to check out Target's shelves. Robert gave me a $50 Old Navy gift card the first time this happened, and I recall standing in the mall watching Linda and Ashley vanish into Nordstrom. He said, "Get whatever you need," and turned to follow them. I will never forget the casual dismissal and the unambiguous message about my position in the family hierarchy. The way they treated us at family time was more painful than the tangible differences. Whenever Ashley talked about her day at supper, Linda and Robert would genuinely listen and lean in to offer follow-up questions. They would hardly look up from their plates when it was my turn to contribute, making merely infrequent MMMs, or bringing up other topics. I once attempted to share my victory in the school's science fair. Linda cut me off before I could finish, reminding Ashley that her costume fitting for the dance recital was coming soon. It was especially annoying when it came to extracurricular activities. Ash participated in every activity in which she even remotely expressed interest, including private tennis instruction, dance classes, piano lessons, art workshops, and drama club. I asked to join the school's debate team, which only cost $100 to register, but Linda replied, "We need to be mindful of the budget." The following day, they enrolled Ashley in private swimming lessons that cost $200 per hour because she said she liked the water. Our communal restroom turned into yet another battlefield. Ashley's side was filled with pricey Sephora skincare and makeup, while I utilized cheap brands that I purchased with my stipend, which was a fourth of Ashley's. The towels were also different. I used the simple ones from the hall closet, but she had soft, monogram pairs. She was so upset when I inadvertently used one of her face washes by accident that Linda had to create a lockable cabinet for Ashley's particular items. As high school went on, the gap between our intellectual abilities grew more noticeable. Ashley found it difficult to maintain AB average, whereas I kept straight A's. However, their reaction to our accomplishments was oddly biased. Ashley's favorite Italian restaurant hosted a celebration dinner after she received a B+ on a history test. After I was elected into the National Honor Society, Linda asked Ashley about her cheerleading practice without even looking at the letter. I could never do it justice, but family photos do. Ashley is the focal point of every photo, typically sporting a fresh, stylish outfit. I appear like an afterthought in my own family photographs, always in the background wearing whatever was on sale since Linda had just provided the photographer with Ashley's dimensions and preferences for the shoot. The photographer even questioned whether I was a family friend assisting with our junior year photo session. Holiday festivities turned into just another reminder of my position within the family. Ashley would always have more gifts than I had at Christmas, including high-end gadgets, designer clothing, and whatever else was in style at the time. Typically, I received useful presents like socks, generic school supplies, or small-value gift cards. Ashley received an iPhone and a MacBook Pro for Christmas last year. I received some clothing from a bargain retailer, and a $50 Target gift card. Linda was already documenting Ashley's reaction to her new laptop when I attempted to thank them. Nevertheless, their treatment of our social lives was also in contrast. For their get-togethers, Linda would order pizzas and provide fancy refreshments, and Ashley was encouraged to have friends over at any time. I once requested permission to bring 2 friends over so we could study for our finals. "Just keep it down," Linda added, "and make sure they bring their own snacks. We're saving the good stuff for Ashley's cheerleading squad party tomorrow," she continued without taking her eyes off her phone. "There is so much more to tell about how things developed from here. Particularly with what transpired with my mom during all of this, and how I ultimately received support from an unexpected source. I have been keeping notes on my phone about everything that has happened. If you would want to hear the rest of the story, please let me know. It becomes more challenging, particularly when some family secrets are revealed and college preparations start. In our junior year, things really began to change. I applied for a job at a neighborhood coffee shop after deciding I needed some independence. Ashley reacted right away when I told them over supper. As she gave Ashley another $100 cash for her weekend shopping, Linda nodded in agreement and said, "Oh my God, you're actually going to be a waitress? That's so common." The coffee shop turned into a haven for me. I had coworkers that genuinely recognized me and appreciated my contributions. For the first time, after noticing my attention to detail, my manager, Sarah, swiftly promoted me from simple cleaning tasks to drink preparation. I became an expert at managing the morning rush in 3 months. Regular clients would especially wait in my line since they knew I would accurately recall their intricate requests. "You're a natural at this," Sarah would say as she demonstrated new latte art techniques for me. At home, however, Linda and Robert persisted in their apathy, save for when they could make fun of my work. "Careful with that plate, Ashley," Robert would say every night when they were eating. "Don't want you ending up as a waitress." They chuckled as I cleared the table in silence, presumably oblivious to the irony of my doing just what they were making fun of. Academically, I also had a change in my junior year. My lab reports were frequently cited as examples for the class by Mrs. Rodriguez in AP Chemistry. Notice how Audrey structured her methodology, she would add while pointing to the projector showing my work. I felt Ashley's eyes searing into my back, but I continued to concentrate on the task at hand. This is university-level precision. It felt good to get my efforts acknowledged after years of being unnoticed. Parent-teacher conferences were one very eye-opening experience. My performance was being evaluated by Mrs. Rodriguez. "Your daughter has a remarkable grasp of complex concepts. She's top of the class, and her lab work shows exceptional promise for a future in scientific research." Before I had a chance to respond, Linda asked, "Are you sure you're not favoring her? It seems like teachers always praise Audrey while ignoring Ashley's unique talents." With every academic achievement, the strain at home increased. My stepfamily seemed to respond equally, and oppositely to every A+ I brought home. They would swiftly brush over my accomplishments and turn their attention to praising Ashley's most recent participation award or the C+ she worked really hard for. The night that altered everything then arrived. After finishing my calculus assignment, I was on my way to the kitchen for some water when I heard Linda and Robert conversing in their study. Normally, I would have disregarded their late-night chatter, but Robert's remarks made me take notice. He said, "Sometimes I wonder if we made a mistake," in a somber voice. Linda said, "What do you mean?" "Having both of them. Ashley would have been enough. She's everything we could want in a daughter. But Audrey, she's just there. We would have been fine with just Ashley." The glass nearly fell out of my grasp. My heart wasn't as fortunate, but I managed to catch it in time. In that instant, everything became crystal clear. All of the years spent hoping for a change and striving to win their love suddenly felt so pointless. I wasn't wanted by them. They didn't. I was the extra load they wished they didn't have to bear, the undesired addition. Something changed within me after that night. I gave up trying to win their approval and gave my studies my whole attention. My thinking unclogged in unexpected ways. When I wasn't under the continual pressure to win their approval, my already excellent marks took on a remarkable quality. I started getting perfect scores, but they didn't notice or care. "Excellent analysis, Audrey," Mr. Peterson said one day in AP English as he held up my work about the Great Gatsby. Ashley tensed next to me, her hard pencil tapping angrily on her desk. "Class, this is exactly the kind of deep thinking I'm looking for. Your comparison of Gatsby's invented identity to modern social media personas is particularly insightful." From the corner of my eye, I could see her face getting red, but I continued to look straight. In other classes, similar scenes occurred. I was invited to a prominent essay competition in AP History because of my understanding of the Cold War. My experiment design in physics was chosen for the state science fair. Regardless of the subject, Ashley became more enraged the more the teachers complimented my efforts. When Mrs. Rodriguez invited me to coach other students in chemistry, that was the tipping point. She chuckled and remarked, "Your explanations are often clearer than mine. Would you consider leading some study sessions before the AP exam?" Ashley's voice came to me from downstairs that night. "Mom, the teachers are being mean to me. They always praise Audrey and make me look bad. They're doing it on purpose." With her high-end handbag swinging and her heels clicking on the linoleum flooring, Linda strode into school the following day. She marched into Principal Williams' office, where they summoned Mrs. Rodriguez, and I observed from the corridor. "I want to know why your teachers are discriminating against my daughter," Linda pleaded. Mrs. Rodriguez pulled out our progress logs and placed them side by side while remaining composed and professional. "Here are both girls' records. Audrey consistently scores in the top percentile in all subjects, while Ashley—" "Are you saying my Ashley isn't intelligent?" Linda cut in, raising her voice. "Not at all. I'm merely pointing out Audrey's academic achievements." However, she was not persuaded by any amount of proof. I heard Linda explaining to Robert that day when she got home. The teachers were clearly biased against their precious Ashley. I had grown weary of begging for pocket money and seeing Ashley receive hundreds of dollars for simply being alive. My job at the coffee shop was now my passport to independence, not just a haven. I opened a second bank account that neither Linda nor Robert knew about, and I began saving every dime I could. The tips from the regular customers went directly into that account, and they frequently increased them after they found out I was saving for college. However, even this minor triumph was not without opposition. Ashley and her friends would frequently leave their empty cups on the table, purposefully spilling liquids to make my job more difficult, and then loudly comment on how sad it was to see people stuck serving coffee. The message was clear: I wasn't even permitted to excel in a job that they viewed as beneath them. My coworkers noticed and began taking their directions instead. "I don't want anything to do with you anymore. You're embarrassing with your tiny house and budget clothes. I've moved up in the world," Linda yelled in a heated phone conversation I had overheard years earlier. She had been speaking to her parents, my grandparents, whom I had never met because they weren't good enough for her new way of life. I sneaked into Linda's home office that evening while she and Ashley were out shopping again, this time for Ashley's pre-graduation wardrobe makeover. I located the address in the older part of town under DF4 Do Not Contact in her address book. I felt a mixture of fear and hope when I looked at that address. These were my grandparents. They might genuinely be interested in getting to know me and consider me more than just an unwelcome member of someone else's ideal family. After my shift at the cafe tomorrow, I've made the decision to go see them. I don't know what to anticipate, but I know I have to try. The address is just a few blocks from my workplace, in a neighborhood Linda would likely deem beneath her. I've been missing the family link for years, but maybe, just maybe, I'll find it now. After I meet them, I'll provide an update. I feel like this could be the start of something significant. I have a feeling that meeting my grandparents could completely alter my destiny, not just my current circumstances. First update. 2 weeks have passed since my last post, and I'm amazed at how much has changed. I was standing in front of a tiny blue house with a well-kept garden after my shift at the cafe that day. Every step I took up the path to my grandparents' house felt heavier than the one before, and my heart was racing. The well-kept grass was covered in lengthy shadows from the late afternoon sun. The door opened when I held up my hand to knock, revealing my grandparents, an elderly couple. The man sported wire-rimmed glasses and a kind smile, and the woman, dressed in a flowered apron, had her gray hair pulled back in a tidy bun. When I said, "Hello, I'm Audrey Matthews. I think you're my grandparents," they gave me a perplexed look. Their mouths fell open at the same time. My grandma said, "Oh my God, Frank," as she put her palm to her mouth. "It's really her. You look just like your mother did at your age." After they invited me in, I found myself seated in their comfortable living room, sipping tea from fine cups as they stared at me intently. Photographs from decades of family history that I was unaware of dotted the walls. Among them, I saw photos of my mother in her teenage years, sporting the same bashful grin I had seen so many times in my own image. Numerous visits followed that initial one. I would spend hours with my grandparents, bringing them cookies and pastries from work while pretending to be working extra shifts at the cafe. They truly cared about every aspect of my life and were excellent listeners. They questioned me in depth about what I was studying. After I told them about my AP classes, they offered to help evaluate my essays when I brought up my college applications. Things at school kept getting more intense. Princeton sent me a large envelope one morning. I could hardly open it since my hands were shaking so much. Full academic scholarship. Before leaving for home, I hurried to show my grandparents. And their response was just what I had always hoped for in a family. As Grandpa continued to remark, "I knew you had it in you, kiddo," Grandma began to cry. When I eventually told Robert and Linda about Princeton, they responded just as I had anticipated. Distractedly, Linda remarked, "That's nice, dear," before turning to face Ashley. "Honey, have you decided which state school you're applying to?" My acceptance was entirely forgotten as Ashley sniffed and announced that she was taking a gap year to find herself through travel and self-discovery. Within minutes, they were talking about possible places for Ashley's gap year. After averting a potential catastrophe during a health inspection, I was promoted to shift supervisor at work. A little celebration was thrown for me by my coworkers, who signed a card and produced a homemade cake. It meant more to me than any praise I had ever received at home. When my boss, Sarah, called me aside and said, "You're going places, kid. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise," I felt a sense of validation I had never received from my own family. Everything changed once again yesterday. As usual, I went to my grandparents' house after closing the cafe. They looked at each other during our chat as if they were nervous. "Audrey," Grandpa started after clearing his throat, "we need to tell you something." I was astounded by what they disclosed next. As it happens, They are not the humiliatingly impoverished relatives Linda had always talked about. They had put their meager resources into a number of software startups. After Mom severed their relationship, they decided to continue living simply in their comfortable home, even if those investments had paid off handsomely. Grandpa stated, "Your mother left us because she felt we were too poor, too beneath her." Shaking his head, "The irony is, we're probably wealthier than she is now. We just don't feel the need to show it off." Grandma added, "We've been waiting for the right moment to help you, and with graduation coming up, this seems perfect." Everything they told me is still being processed by me. I have more to say, but I must exercise caution in what I do next. 2 weeks remain until graduation, and Linda has been hinting about a large family celebration for Ashley, of course. To celebrate Ashley's academic accomplishments, she has already reserved a classy restaurant and invited all of their friends. After I graduate, I'll provide another update. My grandparents claimed they had something planned, and judging by their smiles, I can tell it will be something important. I have a feeling that this day will be remembered by everyone in the family. Second update: the graduation ceremony proceeded according to plan. My stepparents hardly gave a cheer when they mentioned my name as valedictorian. However, they cheered and yelled like if Ashley had just won an Olympic medal when she crossed the stage. Then the shocking news arrived. Linda virtually bounced in her seat when she said, "Girls, we have exciting news. We're celebrating graduation in Hawaii." Over breakfast the following morning, despite everything, my heart briefly felt better. But I should have known better. You understand. Right. Someone has to watch the house, and you have your job at the cafe, honey, Linda said to me, her voice brimming with phony pity. We only got 3 tickets for us and Ashley. Ashley stirred her orange juice without even trying to disguise her smirk. "Don't worry, sis," she murmured, sounding overly kind. "I'll send you lots of pictures of me living my best life on the beach." I observed them loading their pricey bags into the taxi the following morning from our front door. Ashley turned around and gave a theatrical, enthusiastic wave. "I'll make sure to send you beautiful photos from Hawaii." With trembling hands, I took out my phone and dialed my grandparents as soon as the cab vanished around the corner. When I heard Grandma's voice, the tears I had been suppressing finally came out. They went to Hawaii without me. They just left me here like I'm nothing," I cried. Grandma said, "Oh, sweetheart," in a gentle yet forceful voice. "Come over right now. We have our own graduation celebration." Still blotting away my tears, I pulled onto their street and drove to their house. At that moment, I spotted something out of the ordinary: a brand new Mercedes C-Class automobile, shining in the summer sun, parked in their driveway next to their small house. It appeared totally out of place. I strolled up to their front door and inquired, "Whose car is that?" Grandpa held up a set of keys, and his eyes glowed. "Yours. Happy graduation, Audrey." I was certain I had misheard him, so I stood there with my mouth open. They clarified that they had been waiting for the ideal opportunity to prepare this surprise for weeks. We celebrated with a lovely, handmade graduation meal while we spent the afternoon together. A banner that read, "Congratulations, graduate," was displayed throughout the dining room, and the table was arranged with their finest china. 2 weeks passed slowly. My phone would ring every night with a new alert: Ashley posing on various beaches, dining at fancy restaurants, or relaxing by infinity pools. The captions for each picture got more and more offensive. "Living my best life, as someone serves coffee." The day of their return then arrived. I was in the living room, looking out the window while fighting to read a book. I couldn't help but smile as I watched their expressions play out in slow motion as the cab arrived. Mom was the first to notice. Ashley dropped her expensive beach bag on the concrete driveway after she stopped so suddenly that she was directly struck by her dad. He almost stumbled over them both when he was fumbling with their pricey matching luggage set. Linda's harsh, high-pitched voice echoed through the front glass. What is that? Her immaculately manicured finger was quivering a little as she pointed at the Mercedes, as though it would bite her. I enjoyed every moment of their bewilderment as I walked slowly to the front door. They all turned to stare at me as if I were a ghost when I stepped onto the porch. With his face flushed from shock and the Hawaiian sun, Dad shouted, "Whose car is that?" As Ashley often did while flaunting her fancy purse straps, I twisted the keys around my finger. "Mine," I replied. Ashley barked a laugh, but I could detect the doubt in her voice. "Yeah, right. Like you could afford that on your waitress salary." With every word I could manage, I said, "Actually, it was a graduation gift from Grandma and Grandpa." Linda's cheeks lost color so quickly that I feared she might pass out. "What?" "You know," I replied with a smirk. "Your parents? The ones you were too embarrassed to talk to because they were too poor? Those grandparents." I feared Dad could have whiplash because he turned to Linda so quickly. "Linda, call your parents right now." When Mom took out her phone, her hand trembled. When my grandmother responded, she didn't even make an effort to be polite. She insisted, "Where did you get the money for that car?" Grandma's quiet, mildly amused voice could be heard over the phone. "Oh, hello to you too, dear. Enjoying your expensive vacation?" There was mayhem for the following few minutes. Everything would never be the same after family secrets were revealed. Third update. I had never been happier as I was during the final weeks of summer at my grandparents' place. Grandpa's humming as he read the newspaper and the aroma of Grandma's coffee would greet me each morning. No feeling like an unwanted shadow, no fighting for attention, no walking on eggshells, just tranquility. It was bittersweet to move to Princeton. I bid my grandparents farewell with a hug and vowed to phone them every day. Before leaving in my Mercedes with everything I possessed, I felt as though I was crossing a line between my old and new lives. On the drive to New Jersey, just 10 minutes from university, my grandparents had gotten me a lovely small apartment. It was nothing special, but it was far nicer than any dorm room. There were large windows, hardwood floors, and even a tiny balcony where I could study. Despite my objections, they persisted in paying the rent. However, I still desired some autonomy. So I took a part-time work at a nearby coffee shop. I didn't miss the irony, still serving coffee. But this time out of choice rather than obligation. I found myself making true friends for the first time in my life, and the majority of my coworkers were fellow students. In the best way conceivable, the first week of classes was overwhelming. I was simply another freshman figuring things out, not the unwanted extra. Without any ulterior motives or comparisons to others, my students asked me to study groups, and my lecturers genuinely seemed interested in what I had to say. About a month into the semester, Grandma called one Sunday afternoon with some intriguing news. She remarked, "Your parents arrived at our door yesterday." A beat skipped in my chest. "What were they seeking?" I asked. "As usual," Grandma remarked. Linda was all smiles and phony excuses as she inquired about our financial status and made a reference to Ashley's impending birthday. "Your father continued to scan the house, perhaps in an attempt to determine our wealth." "How did you explain it to them?" I asked, holding my breath. The line was joined by Grandpa's voice. "We informed them that we had already made a financial decision. Everything will go to you. When we brought up the trust fund we've established for your graduate education." You ought to have seen Linda's expression. I could see their faces. What was their reaction to that? Grandma laughed and said, "Let's just say Linda's smile didn't look so genuine after that." We requested that they not return. Additionally, Ashley had the audacity to send us a list of expensive cars that she would be open to receiving as a birthday present. Is it not unbelievable? I blocked all of their phone numbers and social media accounts that night, including Ashley's. I was prepared for the unexpected expressions of love and regret, as well as offers to start over as a family. However, I no longer required their type of family. Linda tried a fresh strategy the next week. She sent a long letter after somehow obtaining my new address, likely by looking through my grandparents' mail. It was filled with justifications. That they would love to be a real family once more, and that they never intended to hurt me. The postscript's request that I speak positively to my grandparents on Ashley's birthday was the most telling. After carrying the letter to my balcony, I ripped it into small fragments and allowed the wind to whisk them away. After that, I gave my grandparents a call and helped Grandma organize her garden for the upcoming spring for an hour. Real family feels like that. No comparisons, no stipulations, just love. I occasionally think about that young child who used to ask for her parents' affection. As I sat in my constitutional law class, taking notes and truly enjoying the intricacy of the subject matter, I realized she would not only find love, but she would also find respect, support, and the ability to be herself. I wish I could tell her that. Here Emma, my roommate, has grown to be my best friend. I was almost adopted by her large, devoted family in Massachusetts. They offered me to spend Thanksgiving break at their family's beach cottage last weekend. I almost started crying when Emma's mother gave me a hug and remarked, "There's always room for one more at our table." My study group most likely confirms our later meeting at the library when my phone softly buzzes in my pocket. Perhaps it's Jake, the adorable guy from my psychology class who persistently requests coffee, thankfully, not in my cafe. I used to work as a barista, and my family situation is complex. But he doesn't care. We've been studying together lately. Now, everything is so normal. No drama, no incessant comparisons, no sense of inadequacy. It's just me, my education, my friends, and the bright future that lies ahead. I've begun researching law schools. For once, I feel like I can dream as large as I want, and Grandpa believes I'd be a fantastic lawyer. There probably won't be any further updates from me. I've closed this chapter of my life and am prepared to start a new one, this time, according to my own wishes. I've discovered that it's acceptable when the family you pick is superior to the one you were born into. I appreciate everyone who has followed my journey. You have no idea how much your support has meant. If you find yourself in a similar circumstance, keep in mind that you should not allow someone to make you feel inadequate. You will be loved for who you are by the right people. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you.